Your son was 14, right?
Correct.
14. Here's a lesson to all youngsters. Don't you go nowhere with an officer without making sure that they contact your parents. I'm talking about, I'm dead serious. Don't go nowhere. Make another noise, make another fuss. Let's just be real. They don't put other racists, we just make it plain, in the car without notification of the family and drive them from their only known location of the family. They don't make any damn sense.
And Marcus, right now we're pushing for law, to make that a law, not just a moral rule, but to make that a law that juveniles are not to be detained without being making a PV call is what it's called.
That's right.
Making a PV call.
That's all right. That's common sense. That's common sense that they don't practice when it comes to us. So, hey, youngsters, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. I mean, you know, they say, hey, make sure that you follow, you know, all the rules, and yes, but after you contact my mother or my father. Right? You got me? You got me? You got me? And that's real. Mr. Ron Davis, father of Jordan Davis, what did they call it? The loud music trial, the rap music case, go on and on. Mr. Davis, tell us a little bit about your son.
Son is Jordan Davis. He was 17 when he was shot and killed at a gas station in Jacksonville, Florida, over loud music. Michael Dunn, the perpetrator, he pulled his car next to the SUV with first was 3 individuals in the car, one was in the store. And the driver came back to the car, and that was done because of a verbal argument with my son, who was in the back seat, decided to pull out his gun and shoot 10 bullets into that car. And he killed my son, hit my son 3 times, and almost killed all the boys in the car. We are one of the few families
Yes, sir.
that actually got justice in a court system. We had to go to court for a year and a half. We were at every session, and just telling you the road you have to go through. Every session, every motion. Me and my family, my wife, Jordan's mother also, we all went to those sessions. And we had to sit through the lies, bite your lip, bite your tongue. But with our presence, and when they gave us a chance to speak in the rooms, you know, when you huddled up with the state attorney, because you have to understand, the Johnsons understand that the prosecutor is supposed to take care of the family. The prosecutor is your advocate, supposedly. So you can't hire your own criminal attorney when your child is killed.
Yes, sir.
I don't care how much money you have. You can have $1 million. You can't hire your own attorney when your family member gets killed. And that's the difference in the justice system, is because the defendant can hire the best attorney money can buy. But you as a parent, you as a loved one, you have to depend on the state attorney of your county. And they can be buffoons. But you still have to go with that state attorney. And many times, those state attorneys have symbiotic relationships with the police department.
Absolutely.
So how you going to prosecute your buddy? The same people that you go to their house and have dinner with. They call me unfiltered, so I'm going to tell the truth. If you want to hear truth, this is coming. I don't know how you can go to lunch and go to dinner and use those same policemen on trials that you, as a prosecutor, you've already cleared those trials, and you always found people guilty based on the testimony of the police department. So if you uplift the police department and say that they're always right, and you close 20 or 30 cases with those same police on the stand, you can't go back after a shooting and say that they're a piece of garbage. You can't go back. So you got to stick with the police department when you're prosecuting. And so that's why many of these families don't get justice. Fortunately, the person that shot at my son was not a policeman.
Yes, sir.
He was a regular citizen, a regular good old boy.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was from Satellite, Florida. Couldn't wait to use his gun. African Americans, you got a target on your back. I think when parents tell kids, young men and women, that they have a target on their back, they really don't believe it. They think we just talk. But we see CNN, we look at MSNBC, we see the statistics for all these murders all across this country. 97 murders a day in this country alone. So we know the statistics, and every time our kids come home and we hear the keys get into the door, we take a breath as parents, don't we? Thank God they're home. How many people in this room believe in God? Y'all ain't hear me. Stand up if you believe in God. Stand up. That's the only thing we're going to get you through in these days. That's the only thing. You know, we try to get governors to change the laws. We try to get senators to change the laws. But until you change the minds of the people in this world, you're still going to have murders. They're going to find a way to murder you. You're still selling guns. They're going off the shelves at Walmart, going off the shelves at Kmart. People, every time President Obama comes on TV and starts talking about gun control, guns just fly off the shelves.
Yes.
Because you know it's not over. We left 1940 and 1950 and thought it was over. We thought we overcame in 1960. Wrong. You didn't overcome. It's just not as blatant as it was in 1950 where it was colored fountains. They were telling me, Jackie was telling me today, you see that tree, Mr. Davis? That's what it is called a hanging tree. Where they were hanging people and your relatives were just hanging like strange fruit off that tree.
Yes, sir.
You think it stopped? It ain't stopped. It's just 2015, 2016, and they hang you in another way. They say they fear for their life. They have the guns, they have the badge, and you're unarmed, and you're running away. And they still shoot you down in the street. Right, Mike Brown? Yeah. They still shoot you down in the street. They still take their kids and put them on a freeway and say, make it home yourself. You're 14 years old, make it home by yourself.
Yes, sir.
They still do that. They still tell you that when your kid comes to school, that your kid's gonna be safe in school. And what happens? 13 hours later, your kid is rolled up in a mat. What happens? Those are just lynching, just 21st century lynching, that's all that is. And so God's got to get into these people, and God's got to save us, because believe me, everybody up here is broken in such a way.
Yes, sir.
You talk to these families, Cal know what I'm talking about, you talk to these families. When we have happiness, it only lasts for a short time. I just listened to Corey Jones' family. It only lasts for a small amount of time, no matter what we do and how many of these panels we come to, and we go to Disney and we go to Universal and go to, they have Wild Adventure here, I think. You're only happy for a short period of time, because when you get home, you miss your family member, right?
Yes,
You always wish that family member went on that ride with you. You always do that. And if you go on a cruise, who do you take with you? Them family members in your heart. That family member's on that cruise with you. And when I saw this film tonight, now I didn't see it in its entirety when I saw it online. And my wife knows that I'm not usually that quiet. When I saw the cuttings on the back of this young man,
yes, sir.
their son, I almost broke down right here. I cannot understand how you could do that to a child. I cannot understand how you could put that out on the internet,
Yes, sir.
for the world to see.
That's right.
I don't understand how you can take a beautiful child with a face of an angel and distort that face and tell this family this happened naturally. You know, we live in a perilous world today,
Yes.
and we better acknowledge it. You know, when I look out there, sometimes I see Jordan, and I'm sure these families see their son and people as they walk the streets, as you drive in the car. I saw this young man right here with a black sweatshirt on. Yeah, you right there.
Yeah.
You're Jordan to me. I see my son in you.
Yes, sir.
He look like you. He's tall like you. And I hope God blesses you and keeps you safe, young man. Because, you know, these young men have to be safe, because they don't have the mindset that we have as older people. I'm 62 years old. And we know what's out here. We can spot it coming at us. But the young people can't spot it coming at us. So we have to help them. And like my boy said, you know, I talk to Marcus all the time. We got to teach them and train them up to see that devil coming.
Yes,
Devil working.
Yes, sir.
Devil working, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Every time when you're on the street corner late at night, if you're out late at night, take care of yourself, young man.
That's right.
I told my son Jordan, I said, Jordan, take care of yourself. I said, there are people out here with all types of problems, mental illness. They're selling drugs now, and you see it on TV. It'll fix your elbow, but it has 20 side effects. It make you psychotic.
Speak on that.
Make you bleed inside.
Yes, sir.
Make you half crazy. You know, these are the people that are running around with mental illness,
Yes.
and they're allowed to buy guns because the gun manufacturers make trillions of dollars off the death of all these young men and young women out here. And President Obama had a tear in his eye the other day because he knows that he can't stop the wave of guns flooding into this country. And I say to you on behalf of Jordan Davis, my son, who was a lovely young man. He was a young man unlike all the rest of the young men, the same thing. You know, I see all these young men here, I'm glad these awesome men. They're beautiful, you know. They should be able to grow up like me and have a worthy life, be married, have a house, and enjoy their life. And we have to pray for them that they have the same advantages that we have because they're dying at 17, 18, 19. Why is this always a teenager dying?
Yes.
Always a teenager. These kids have one thing in common. And what is that? They're all unarmed.
Yes, sir.
They are all unarmed. Is it the kind of world that we have to start arming ourselves like the Black Panthers did? Do we have to let the world know that we're not going to accept being murdered in the street? So if you hear me one of these days say, you know what, scratch what I said, let's all get a gun, we might have to all overcome and get a gun. That's just the way it is because we're not going to continue to let our loved ones get killed in the mat, killed on the street, killed in the street, laying there for 4.5 hours. We're not going to continue to do this. And so I'm a little angry tonight,
Yes, sir.
and I think all of us should be a little angry because watching this and seeing the deaths all around us, at some point it has to stop, and if they can't stop it, then we have to stop it. Thanks for listening to
That's
me.
right. The last part didn't sound half bad, Mr. Davis. Ron, real quick, because I want everybody to know this. You talked about that cold, cold world. How many times was your son hit again?
3 times.
3 times. Can you tell everybody after this good old boy shot into that car, can you tell everybody what he did after that?
Shot into a car full of kids. Said he feared for his life, and that's what they say when they go and they take their gun class, and they say, if you shoot somebody, say these 5 words, I fear for my life.
Very good.
That's the code word. Cops are saying it now. I fear for my life. That's what everybody said. He had a cop right in front of him when he drove out the driveway. He had pulled the motorist over. He passed the cop, kept going, got back to his hotel after shooting into a car full of kids. Left his gun in the car, even though he feared for his life. Went upstairs in the hotel, ordered pizza.
There it is.
Pulled him and his girlfriend a rum and coke.
There it is.
And then went out and walked his dog. After shooting, never dialed 911. Found out in the morning he killed my son. Never dialed 911, packed up and drove 2.5 hours, thought he had gotten away with it. Never said one time to our family, I'm sorry for your loss. When we saw his mother and father in court, not one time out of 27 times did they say to us, I'm sorry for your loss. We were in the elevator with his mother and father. They looked away, never said, I'm sorry for your loss. These are the kind of people that we're dealing with. Domestic terrorists. This is who we're dealing with. You know, we were one of the favorite families. We thank that we're thankful that we have the platform. We got a call from President Obama, and they invited us to the White House to be a part of My Brother's Keeper initiative. So we were there. I was also the first one to let the world know about Ferguson, because as I was leaving the States to go to Geneva, Switzerland, to speak in front of the United Nations, I saw Mike Brown on television as I was leaving. And when I got to Switzerland and spoke in front of the United Nations, the first thing out of my mouth when they asked me to speak, have you heard of Ferguson? And then they shook their head, because these are all world leaders. They hadn't heard of what happened. It just happened a day and a half ago. And I told them what was happening in Ferguson. And they chastised the ambassador of the United States right there in Geneva, Switzerland. And so after the riots, all that took off. And so Mike Brown and his family, even though they didn't know it at the time, they got a lot of support from world leaders that saw that and said that's disgusting that they have such discrimination in America. And they saw the pictures of Mike Brown Jr. 4 hours laying on the ground in front of his parents. That was the worst photo that they could see over in Europe. Came back here and decided to join the U.S. Human Rights Network, and I'm still a member. We have a film called 3.5 Minutes, 10 Bullets. And we won an award at the Sundance Film Festival this past year. And we were signed up by HBO, and so it's on HBO right now. If you go on HBO On Demand and look up documentaries and feature films, you'll see 3.5 Minutes, 10 Bullets. Especially I want the young people to really look at this film and see what happens to you. It's a feature-length film, 1.5 hours. And right now we're on the running for being nominated for an Academy Award. So we're going to use that platform to help young people. I have the Jordan Davis Foundation, and we give scholarships every year to young people coming out of high school, going to college, and I want to continue that all across the country with our foundation. That's one of the things that heals families, is when you start a foundation, when these things happen to you, if you can help 20, 30, 40, 50 kids, that really helps you.
That's right.
So I tell all these families, do the best you can to start a foundation and help some of the kids, because that's one of the things that will start to heal.
Now, I want y'all to give it one more time, but not yet. I want you to give it up for the simple fact, Ron dropped the president's name like it's nothing. I know George Floyd was just recently with the president for this big announcement, HBO documentaries. I've had the privilege to meet a lot of families, a lot of famous folks, and I've seen a lot of things. I've seen families use their dead loved ones as stepping stones for their own personal fame. So for Ron to have everything that's going on currently, he could have easily called up Mr. and Mrs. Johnson and say, listen, I got a conflict, I can't this and that, And this is not to exclude any of the other families, but it's solid and grounded people that really care about their people, like Ron, that is willing to use national platforms and say, because one thing is for sure, he just ain't talking like this because he's here in Valdosta. I've seen him on CNN talking like that. I've heard him on national syndicated shows talking like that. I've seen him on HBO talking like that. So, Brother Ron, because it's a scandalous world when you get around celebrities, and so to keeping it real, no pun intended. So keeping it real, staying who you are, man, and truly, because that what he said to you, young brother, that's real. Seeing his son over here, that's real. Wanting to make sure that he passes on something that will prevent what happened to his son, to you guys, man, that's real. Some folks just come in and they talk over you and talk at you, and they out the door and pouring a rum and coke and eating a piece. Right? So give it up for Brother Davis for that.